Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Taxpayers Association of Indian River County's Mosquito Control Forum. I'm Jordan Stewart, and with us tonight we have Jeffrey Andros, the incumbent Janice Broda, Craig McCoy are all running for seat 1. Running for seat 3, we have Matthew Erpenbeck, Veda Mosavat, and unfortunately incumbent Buck Vassell will not be able to join us. The Mosquito Control District is an independent special taxing district governed by a 3-member board of commissioners that collected over $4 million of taxpayer dollars in 2019. And without any further ado, let's jump right in and allow our candidates to make their opening statements. We'll go in the order of Jeffrey, Janice, Craig, Matthew, and Veda. So Jeffrey, your opening statement, please.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Andros. I'm running for Mosquito Control for the seat 1 position. I'd like to remind everyone that everyone in the county, all voters can vote for each candidate for whatever seat they're running for. It's not closed or geographic boundaries. I'm a graduate of the Southern University of New Hampshire, summa cum laude with a BS in information technology. I'm currently enrolled at USF for a master's in cybercrime. I've worked on everything from high-tech bank software to where I worked at IBM on one of the world's largest and fastest supercomputers doing fiber optics. Now I live in Vero Beach. I've been here about 10 years. I own my own consulting business, and I'm running because mosquito control is it's, in my opinion, one of the best kept secrets on how it works and where this money goes and how it's spent. And taking a look at things for the past few months, I don't believe it's spent well. I don't believe it's spent with the taxpayer in mind, and I'd like to change that. I'm 36, so I'm not in this for a pension. I'm not a politician. I'm in this to try to give back to the community and do the right thing for the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And Janice, your opening statement, please.
Thank you for having me. I've been honored to serve on the Indian River Mosquito Control District Board since 1992. Public health, fiscal responsibility, despite what you just heard, and protection of our natural resources have been my focus. In 1991, I first became aware of the complexities of mosquitoes and mosquito control when I was hired to write instructional software for mosquito control districts by the Florida Medical Entomology Laboratory, a University of Florida laboratory dedicated to the study of mosquitoes, the diseases they transmit, and their control. There I have worked on many projects, including an analysis of statewide mosquito control issues and practices that generated a 200-page analysis. That overview has been rewritten in 1998, 2009, and 2018 to reflect changing technologies and new disease concerns. Knowledge is critical to effective mosquito control and board oversight. From 1992 to 2014, I volunteered on the Education Committee of the Florida Mosquito Control Association and organized an annual one-day class about topics of concern to mosquito control commissioners, including the Sunshine Law and fiscal oversight. I am not foreign to fiscal matters. I have a bachelor's degree in economics from New College of Florida and a master's degree in economics from Washington University in St. Louis. I taught economics and computer science at Indian River Community College from 1988 to 2000 as an adjunct instructor. The district has operated at the same tax rate or a lower tax rate for all but 6 times during my years of service. That time included a much needed expansion of the district facilities necessitated by the growth of our community and the Great Recession. Protecting the interests of the taxpayers, public health, and our environment are the guiding principles that I live by.
Thank you, Janice. And Craig, your opening statement.
I'm Craig McCoy. I'm running for Mosquito Control Seat 1. I've been an Indian River County resident since 1981. I have a minor degree from Virginia Commonwealth University in computer science. I'm a former ISA certified arborist. I'm a current state certified pool contractor and have owned a business in Indian River County for over 20 years. I've also I have a heavy equipment and site development background, which after speaking with Sherry Burrows and Doug Carlson at Mosquito Control this past week, I feel would really bring some information and some ability to the table, because we all of our impoundments have dikes that are in disrepair, and construction background would definitely help out Mosquito Control there. I'm a former member of Coastal Conservationist Association, so I'm very the lagoon is very important to me, and the pesticides that we are using to control mosquitoes. And I'm also a taxpayer in this county for over 30 something years. So I too would like to make sure that the tax dollars that are going to mosquito control are used wisely and appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. And Matthew.
First of all, please call me Matt. Jordan. Want to say thank you to you and the Taxpayers Association for hosting this forum. A little background on me: I'm a 10-year resident of Indian River County. I'm originally from Dade City, Florida. I'm married and I have 2 children. I have an undergraduate degree in business management from Florida State University, and I have a master's degree in business also from Florida Southern College. I currently work in the insurance industry. As others have mentioned, mosquito control plays an important role in our community regarding public health and in quality of life. I'm running for seat 3 because I enjoy living here and I want to be more involved in the community and serve. I'm the past president of the Taxpayers Association of Indian River County. I currently serve as vice chair of the Government Affairs Committee for the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce, past director of the 4-H Foundation of Indian River County, and a current board member of the Florida Wildlife Federation. If elected, I will advocate for the county taxpayer, seek transparency, and promote public health while protecting the environment. Thank you. Did you get that?
Matt. I did. And Veda, your opening statement.
All right. I'd like to thank the Taxpayers Association for hosting this forum. I'm grateful for the opportunity to introduce myself and talk about why I'm the best candidate for seat 3. First, for the introduction, it's Veda Mosavot. I moved to Vero Beach 6 years ago. We own a home here. I've given birth to 2 children in Vero Beach. My oldest is a kindergartner at Rosewood. This place is my home. I have an undergraduate degree in the history of math and science and philosophy from St. John's College in Annapolis, Maryland, and a master's degree in Persian studies from the University of Maryland. I've spent the majority of my career in journalism, which I believe is a public service. I truly believe that an informed populace is what makes our democracy work. Individuals armed with good information are best equipped to make choices that will get them the results that they want in their community. When I tell people I'm running for mosquito control, invariably they ask me what in the world I'm talking about. I find it odd that the work of the district has flown so far under the radar for so long. The website is clunky and dated. I can't find a Facebook presence, and even the Soil and Water Conservation District has a Facebook page. So why am I the best candidate for seat 3? 2 reasons. I want to spread the word about the good work being done by the Mosquito Control District. Getting rid of mosquitoes in what used to be called Mosquito County is no small feat. Director Carlson is recognized as a national expert. Let's showcase the work he's doing in a user-friendly way. Second, because I know how to ask good questions and I know how to push for accountability from our government officials. I've talked to residents, I've talked to the beekeepers. People are generally happy with the services they're getting. That said, the personnel costs are a lot higher than they are in the other counties. I know that the board voted for these increases, but taxpayers are footing the bill for this. What additional benefits are they getting? I've lived all over this great country of ours. I've seen the way that things are done in different places. Vero Beach is a great place. The beach is incredible. The people are amazing, but there are still improvements to be made. I look forward to the opportunity to serve the citizens here in Indian River County.
Thank you. Our first question, and it's a bit of a warm question for everybody. Janice, you'll be up first on this one. Why are you running for office? What is it about the mosquito control district that interests you? And why do you believe that you are uniquely qualified for the position?
I am running because I believe that I am the best qualified candidate to protect public health, taxpayers' interests, and the environment. In addition to my professional pursuits at the Florida Medical Entomology Laboratory, the taxpayers have invested in my mosquito control education. The taxpayers have supported my active participation in meetings of the Florida Mosquito Control Association and the American Mosquito Control Association, as well as the annual Florida Mosquito Control education courses, for which I have organized a day-long class for 10 years. I spent countless volunteer hours preparing to participate in the meetings where I have moderated and organized sessions, presented scientific papers, and spent my time learning all that I could about mosquitoes and mosquito control. I want to pay back the taxpayers' investment in my education and serve the public health and economic security of our community, my chosen home since 1982. My interest in mosquito control is sustained and not a newfound election-based interest. My public service, professional and volunteer, has been ongoing and sustained. I served on the board of directors of the Environmental Learning Center in its early years and chaired its education committee. With my love of the outdoors and gardening, I became president of the statewide Florida Native Plant Society in 1986 after many years of board level service, and remain active in leadership roles in our local chapter, of which I am a founding member. Over the years, I have been an officer on the boards of the Cultural Council, the Pelican Island Audubon Society, and the Arthritis Association of Indian River County. From 2003 to 2010, I represented the Land Acquisition Advisory I represented mosquito control interests on the Land Acquisition Advisory Committee. Though I have served for a long time, I still have varied interests and volunteer service that is supportive of the mosquito control mission. And sometimes we don't have the resources to, for instance, update the website when other needs, like repairs to the earthen dikes that Craig spoke about, are more necessary. And
okay, thank you, Janice. That is our about 2 minutes. Please keep an eye on the chat. I believe you answered that question. Thank you. Craig, you are up next.
It's an interesting question on why to run. Since I've been in this county, I've been involved with the recreation department. I was the chief umpire for Vero Beach Little League last year. So on a voluntary basis, I've tried to give back to the community as much as I can, because the community has done so much for me. As a swimming pool contractor, I exist because of the people in the county. So at some point, you have to decide that in some capacity, you have to give back to the community. Like I stated before, being a member of the Coastal Conservationist Association and being an avid hunter and fisherman, the environment is very important to me. Being a taxpayer, I'd really like to know, where our taxpayer dollars are being spent. And if I can help to allocate the best way to spend those taxpayer dollars and be a part of it. And mosquitoes are a very interesting thing. It's something that we're never going to be rid of. We all have to live with. And nobody likes going out and having their barbecue ruined with a mosquito. So the more we can learn about something that we have to live with, the better. like Vada said, when I decided to run for mosquito control, it was very unbelievable to me that you could not do a Google search and find the website, and there was no Facebook page. That's concerning to me because of the advent of more northern people coming south. We've got people that are going to have, water issues at their house, that they're actually breeding mosquitoes that we're kind of control, and there's not enough public information out there. So I would like to bring to the table being able to get the Facebook page, because those are all things that are free. Doesn't take a lot of money to do, and that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Craig. And Matt.
2 years ago, I was serving, and I'd been serving, I think, since 2016 on the Government Affairs Committee for the Chamber. And during that time, I had the opportunity to meet lots of different folks who were involved in city and county government here in Indian River County. And, I made the decision then that I wanted to get more involved. Like all of us, we think it's a great place. We want it to stay a great place. And I basically went down to the Supervisor of Elections website, or Supervisor of Elections office one day and said, what races am I eligible for? And they highlighted on a piece of paper which ones that I could run for. So I went home and started researching them on the internet. And mosquito control was the one that I thought, it was something I found interesting, and it was something I felt that I'd be engaged in. And maybe because I grew up in Central Florida in the 70s, I was that kid riding their bike behind the mosquito spray, the truck spraying down the street, not knowing any better. But that's kind of what led me to it. So I ran for mosquito control 2 years ago. I was unsuccessful, but the reasons then are the same now. And so I've decided to run, I'm running again. And, I think with understanding that the role of a board member is really to provide policy and financial oversight, I feel that my background, my education, and my previous involvement in the community is a real asset to filling that role, and that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And Veda.
I covered a lot of the reasons why I'm running in my opening statement. So I'm running because, very similar to Matt, I wanted to serve in this community, and I asked where could I start, and mosquito board was all the way at the very, very bottom. And it seemed like a good place to start was at the very bottom. I hate mosquitoes. I think mosquitoes are the worst. I'm currently writing a book with an infectious disease doctor about infectious diseases. And so mosquitoes in the public health aspect of this are enormous. I mean, as Ms. Broda talked about, this is a big deal. This is a big public service that keeps Indian River County livable. And without this service, none of us would be comfortable being here. I have young kids, and so what happens environmentally is really important to me. It's fascinating for my little boy to see the mosquito plane buzzing over. There's a lot of work to be done here. My history, my past in journalism means that I can ask questions, look at what's going on, and get up to speed really quickly and help the taxpayers be sure that their dollars are being spent well.
Thank you. And Jeff, your response.
Sure. Well, much like everyone else, I want to do it as a community service. I help out and donate to several charities, but this is a real chance to do a hands-on thing for the county, the community. And the first question I get asked is, well, what do you know about mosquitoes? The answer is nothing. I don't like them. Same just about anybody else. But that's not what this position is about. It's an oversight position to make sure money's spent right, tax dollars go to the right places. There are several mosquito experts, entomologists, who the district pays for, pays some pretty decent salaries for, by the way. So it's not up to me to know everything about mosquitoes. But it is, I want to give back. I want to donate my time, help out. And I think with my technology background, of course, I agree about the website and how antiquated it is. With my technology background, I can definitely add a pretty interesting perspective. The district is spending a ton of money on this new software that they're trying to implement. And it looks like they're having some issues with a couple things. And now they're trying to do things by drone. I think a younger, fresh perspective will help out greatly and save some money in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And Craig, you'll be up first on this next question. I would like each of you to use the grading system that we're all familiar with, from A+ to F, to grade the performance of the current director, Doug Carlson, and share your rationale on why he's earned the grade that you assigned. And Craig, you're up first.
I've known about Doug Carlson for many years because he's been in that position for a while. When I was down at Mosquito Control this past week, it seemed like he had the respect of everybody in the building that works underneath of him. And being a former Marine, you know, that speaks volumes, that somebody would be able to command the respect from his peers. Sorry, I've got some dogs going on here. So anyway, I would probably give him a high B, low A, just for the reason that you don't hear a lot of criticism about mosquito control. Now, I don't know if that's because there's not enough information out there, but I think it has to do with that they do a really good job of controlling the mosquitoes with the assets that they have. So I would probably give him an A-. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Matt, your response.
Like Craig, I would give him also an A-. And, you know, I can't really speak to the day-to-day operations. I am not on the board. I don't work there, so my knowledge is limited. But I will tell you that he is very knowledgeable. He is also very willing to give his time to people who maybe like me are less knowledgeable. And whenever I've asked for anything, any information, he's always provided it. It's a simple, you know, I can just pick up the phone. He's been in that position, and Janice will correct me, but probably what, 24 years. He knows the county. He understands the challenges that a county like ours has regarding mosquitoes and the types of mosquitoes, and some of the changes that we're seeing with some of the new variety that are coming in, that you know, these challenges, he's definitely on top of these things. So I give him an A-. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And Veda.
I'm going to stick in the same range. I'm going to do A- B+. And the reasons why are these. He's a national expert. I ended up on a phone call where it turns out that my old boss is the head of mosquito in St. Lucie County. So I ended up on a phone call with Glenn Henderson today, who couldn't stop singing Doug's praises and was talking about sort of the things that are a little bit, that were some things that were behind the scenes that surprised me. Just exactly how much work that he's doing for, you know, lobbying for the mosquito control districts, how much work he's doing in these areas. I was also alerted to some of the publications that he's had, which was quite impressive. He's been studying, it turns out the coast of Florida and the coast of Australia have a lot in common. And so he's been doing this really interesting work on that. And so I think that to have a nationally recognized expert who's publishing, who's doing research and is out front in this. I think that this is amazing. I'm going to actually give him a B+. I'm going to go a little lower than everyone else because we don't know this in Indian River County. The average public doesn't understand that we are paying a little bit extra, but there's this extra little bit. And so I think that we need a little bit more from that. And I think that him doing even more bigger, better work and it not being highlighted, I think that that would be a mark against him. So that's my rationale.
Jeff, your response, please.
Sure, thank you. Kind of like Mr. Erpenbeck said, without being there day to day, be on board and seeing how everything actually functions from inside out, it's hard for me to give a grade on something like that. I truly don't know. I wouldn't know without talking to all the employees and seeing what they had to say. The one thing I will add is, it's interesting. I started asking for information about the budget, started asking for information about salaries to try to educate myself to see what's going on there. I think it's out of the last 17 out of the last 18 years, Mr. Carlson's given himself substantial raises to where now he makes 151,000 plus. And he lists some reason as merit. Yikes. Looking through the budgets a little bit deeper, I saw that there was this petty cash fund. I started asking about the disbursements of petty cash, and I asked who they go to. Well, the response to that was a couple emails from a high-priced lawyer out of West Palm Beach, and they don't want to give me the records. They're fighting me on it. So I don't know what that means, but it's interesting to say the least. So I can't really put a letter grade on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And Janice, your response.
Doug Carlson serves at the pleasure of the board and could be fired with a vote of 2 of 3 of the board members. So his longevity bespeaks the diplomatic leadership that he has brought to the board. In fact, in mosquito control, his nickname is Doug the Diplomat because he has been so effective at dealing with regulatory bodies and encouraging regulators and mosquito control professionals to see one another's roles and points of view. He indeed has been part of the pioneering work to do water control along the Indian River Lagoon that protects the fisheries as well as provides mosquito control benefits. He has been the president of the American Mosquito Control Association, the Florida Mosquito Control Association, and has long chaired the subcommittee on managed marshes, which reconciles regulatory and environmental interests with mosquito control needs. I agree that he has not been his best own promoter, but I think that many people are not that interested in mosquito control as long as they're not getting bitten. I would give Doug an A-, in part because he has not promoted the district as much as he might have, but resources are limited and his focus has been on mosquito control.
Thank you, Janice. I'd like to take just one quick moment to say to thank Doug. He was very accessible to me and answered some of the questions that I had as I was preparing for this forum. So thank you, Doug. So we'll move on to the next question. And Matt, you will be up first on this one. The Board of Commissioners is ultimately responsible for levying taxes, approving budgets, and controlling the use of funds generated by the district. Please describe how you intend to be good stewards of the tax dollars in your care along with any specific initiatives you would employ to reduce the cost of services provided?
Well, I think I'm gonna, maybe, I don't know if I'll be able to answer the question exactly as you asked, but one of the things that I look at is millage rate. And the millage rate, as Janice mentioned, has not gone up in a number of years and has gone down, what's called a rollback. And the last 4 years, the millage rate has stayed the same. At the same time, the county's property values, the assessed values, have increased. So effectively, it's a tax increase on property owners and businesses through your property taxes. And, I understand that we have had hurricanes and there's other, resources are limited. But when you look at other counties like St. Lucie County and Brevard County to the north, both of those during the last 4 years have lowered their millage rate. So I think if you ask me, I think a larger emphasis on looking beyond just what's in our own county, but how that works in the context of other mosquito control districts. I think the financial discipline is very important. And, we were talking about Doug. I know that financial decisions that he makes are brought to the board, and he will give the ups, the good and the bad on those. So I think financial discipline, while has been strong, I think there is a room for some improvement. I think that, Doug's not good at tooting his own horn. We all instead of giving him an A, we gave him an A- because he doesn't know how to brag, I guess. But I think that lends a little bit more to transparency. And I do think that because mosquito control is kind of under the radar in a lot of respects, there's also the implication that there's a lack of transparency. So I would say that making sure that communication and transparency of what the mosquito control district would be somewhere where I also look to improve. Also, new technologies. I know that, they're talking, they're starting to do some stuff.
Okay.
Am I out of time? There's.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Matt.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, over the 2-minute mark. Veda, your response, please.
It's very similar to my opponents here. Matt, I couldn't agree more. One of my biggest concerns is about the millage rate. I agree with you. It does seem like we might be able to do something since the assessed value has gone up so much. It seems like we could give the taxpayer a little bit of relief on that front. I think that there are initiatives that can be done that would not be very expensive. I think that just getting the word out, and Matt, again, I agree with you that it does seem like this lack of broadcasting or putting a spotlight on the work that's being done does seem like a lack of transparency, which it concerns me. I mean, I want to think that everything is going really well, but I would like there to be more openness to make sure that everything is going well. So since Matt said so much, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Thank you. And Jeff, your response.
Sure. Veda said it a very good way. Perhaps because of how closed the district seems to be, to the general public, no fault of anyone there, just, a lot of people really don't know what goes on there. Maybe it does seem as a lack of transparency. I know when I was sitting in a meeting a couple of meetings ago, there was talk because of the increase that supervisors were asked for wish lists because they had extra money to spend. I was appalled by this. I actually spoke out about it. In the middle of COVID, when we don't know about foreclosures, let alone people being able to pay their taxes, how could you ask for a wish list? Take what money you have that's coming in extra, put it on the side, save it somewhere to make sure that you'll be able to pay your people down the road. Who knows what's coming? Cases are going down, sure, but they might go back up. No one knows. So to spend that money, that's just bad. The other thing I would make sure is that everything goes out to bid. No more old contracts, old friends, whatever it might be. Everything now goes out to bid. And that would be it. And definitely transparency to the taxpayers. This is what you're getting for your dollar. I think that's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Janice, you're up next.
There seems to be a bit of confusion about millage. The mosquito control programs in St. Lucie and Brevard County are county programs. They are not independent taxing districts. So when the millage for the whole county goes down, it doesn't necessarily mean that the expenditures in the mosquito control district go down. And for instance, Brevard County still has not repaired its mosquito control impoundment dikes from the damage brought by Hurricane Irma. Indian River County has done so and has collected $245,000 in FEMA reimbursement because of well-documented records. I would like to point out that the total budget for mosquito control in St. Lucie County is this is last year, was $10,412,816. The total budget in Brevard County was $10,698,814. And the budget in the Indian River Mosquito Control District, the independent taxing district, was $6,617,807. I'd also like to point out that rising tax values also come in part from an expansion of development that extends the areas that mosquito control needs to treat. And mosquito pesticides have risen in cost as well. And that does figure in, because that, along with personnel, is the largest part of our budget. That does figure in to the inability of the district to go to rollback.
Thank you, Janice. And Craig, your response.
Janice spoke it very eloquently. I would like the taxpayers to realize, she alluded to it. Indian River County Mosquito Control District is one of the only mosquito control organizations in the state of Florida that is independent. Most of them are county commission run. Hence why, according to Janice's numbers, Brevard and St. Lucie have such a higher budget than we do. You know, being in the construction industry and dealing with you know, all the parts and pieces, you know, fuel prices go up. You know, the hurricane that just went through the Gulf, you know, they didn't refine any fuel. So pesticides, everything that has to do with fuel goes up. And, you know, so you can't really reduce budgets because every year, just like our household budgets, they're going up. And then when you're not attached to the county commission run, that will affect, you know, your you know, the rate of money that you're coming in. So I have to defer to Janice. She spoke at just about everything I was, by the luck of the draw. So that's about all I have for that.
Thank you, Craig. Veda, you will be up first on the next question. The district's enabling legislation is quite broad in allowing for any and all things necessary to control mosquitoes within the district. As a commissioner, how would you address a situation where the district needs to perform mosquito control activities on a taxpayer's private property when the property owner is not in favor of it, but in the opinion of district staff, it is important for the comfort and health of the nearby community?
I'm not an expert here, but I can't imagine that there's going to be much that's going on. I mean, to me, the only scenarios that this is going to happen is if there's standing water or something along those lines. I think that this would be complicated, and I think that this would be somewhere that lawyers would actually be involved. I don't know if this would be a board, and I would actually, because I'm curious to answer this question, I would be curious from Janice, if anything like this does happen, how frequently it happens, and then how it's resolved. So I would refer to experts on this one.
Jeffrey, your response on that question.
Sure, that's a tough question for me. Again, I don't know the day-to-day operations, and I'm curious. I don't know if that's a common occurrence. I don't know if that's something that gets dealt with on a yearly basis or with certain landowners here in Indian River County. I guess the first thing I would do is I would research to see if this is something that happens often and what's been done in the past, just like a lawyer or a judge looking at case law. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure how I would handle that. I would have to look at things that happened before and then vote on it with the rest of the commissioners for the best way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Janice, your response.
Florida Statute 386 gives mosquito control agencies power to treat on private property if there is a public health issue, even if the property owner does not authorize that. When a lot of the property, the salt marsh and mangrove forests along the Indian River Lagoon were in private ownership, some property owners did not want water control management for mosquitoes done on the property. The mosquito control district respected those property owners' wishes, even though it cost the taxpayers some more money to treat those areas differently. The district had wanted to respect individual property rights. Fortunately, most of the land along the Indian River Lagoon that has not been developed is either under the ownership of Indian River County for preservation or owned by the Indian River Land Trust. The district works closely with the Land Trust to improve mosquito management on their properties to benefit the Indian River Lagoon. So the longstanding policy has been to respect individual property rights and to use other means to control the mosquitoes.
I think I was briefly disconnected and reconnected. Can we get a quick test from everybody, or can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Janice. And Craig, your response.
I actually have some experience in this. It happens to us every day when we go to somebody's house to dig a pool and you have the neighbor next door that doesn't want to have it come anywhere near his property. So the first thing that needs to be done is what I feel the mosquito control is lacking right now is public communication. You know, why would a person not want their mosquitoes controlled? Possibilities would be they just don't understand what chemicals are being used. They're conscious of their waterfront property. So, you know, this kind of falls in that category. The way I would address this is with the advent of a Facebook page and an updated website. You could also go through I was just talking to Doug about this other day. Karen Vatlin from the Master Gardeners Association with the Garden Club of Vero, she posts out, you know, information about how to control mosquitoes. The IFAS extension is more than happy to help get public information out there on the chemicals that are used to treat these mosquitoes. And I think you'd find that, you know, if you address it with education, that you'd find a lot of people would want us to come on their property to treat for mosquitoes. Now there's always going to be those rare few that just don't want to have anybody on their property, period, and that's unfortunate. But that's how I would address it, is with public education.
Okay, thank you, Craig. And Matt, your response.
I think Janice did a fairly good job, obviously citing statute, but I'm a strong advocate for personal private property rights. But if there is a health issue involved, Florida statute allows for mosquito control to go on to private property. I understand that and also agree with it too. So I don't have a lot to add to that one.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. At this time, I will allow each candidate, they'll have the opportunity to ask an opponent of their choice a question that they've prepared themselves. And Jeffrey, you'll have the opportunity to go first.
Sure. Commissioner Broda, I'm just curious, do you agree with all of the salary increases that the director has given himself over the years? Are they, especially the last 3 years, where it's gone from 118,000 to 122,000 to 138,000 to most recently 151,000? Do you agree with those?
The Indian River Mosquito Control District in 2017 conducted or contracted for a salary survey through Cody and Associates, a professional firm that looked at salaries of mosquito control professionals in Florida, not other states, and looked at governmental agencies with similar job positions. That study showed that many of the district employees were not receiving salaries that were comparable to other professionals in the state. Over 2 years, those salary increases for all staff, not just for Director Carlson, were implemented. They were implemented at 60% of the average salaries that were computed through this $12,000 study. I recommended that that number be 50%, that it be the average salary. But my colleagues on the board did not agree with me. I also was not happy with the firm selected. They had done a salary study also in 2013. That the salary study was bid, and they were selected over my concerns and objections.
Thank you, Janice. And actually, Janice, you are up next, so you'll have your opportunity to ask your question.
Yes, I would like to ask Craig this question. Mosquito control is vital to public health. What diseases do mosquitoes transmit in Florida, and which ones are of the greatest concern in Indian River County?
Thank you for your question. I will say that my research in this was not into what diseases they carry. I know they carry encephalitis. They can carry the West Nile virus. Dengue fever is a possibility. So I'm going to stop there because I don't want to embarrass myself and think that I know more than what I know. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Craig. Craig, it's your turn to ask your question.
My question is for Commissioner Broda. Thank you for all your years of service. It's kind of a two-part question. I hope that's allowed. The first part is that it's been established in this Zoom meeting that one of the stumbling blocks for mosquito control is public education and public knowledge. Since you stated that you've been on the commission since 1992, what would you do now that you haven't done since 92 to help educate the public with more knowledge about mosquitoes? And then the second part of this question is, it goes to the salary study for Doug Carlson. Director Carlson is in charge of doing evaluations for every employee on mosquito control for their performance so that they are evaluated for raises. I know in a commission meeting a couple of months back, it was brought to the table that Director Carlson should be evaluated on his performance. And you and one other commissioner voted not to have him evaluated. How is that fiscally responsible to the taxpayers if we're not evaluating the director's performance? Thank you.
I'll start with the evaluation issue. Commissioner Vosell and I did not think that a formal evaluation for the director was necessary since he serves at the pleasure of the board. And if he were not performing in an acceptable way, he would be terminated. I do believe that I'm not the only commissioner who does speak with Doug on a personal basis about things that might be improved or done a better way. Public education. In this budget, there is money for a new website. That need has been long recognized and in this budget year will be addressed. So the district, I guess, has flown under the radar with many of its educational activities. So the director, the medical entomologist, and other staff members speak on radio shows to homeowners associations, to service clubs. I have spoken to homeowners associations and service clubs as well. At the Florida Medical Entomology Lab, I run an annual volunteer nature stewardship program for the Indian River Lagoon that includes an extensive amount of information on mosquito control. So with many competing needs for the mosquito control dollars, and with not an extensive amount of interest from the general public, funds have been used for mosquito control operations rather than to toot the district's horn.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. And Matt, your question.
My question is to Beta. And I apologize. I've lived here 10 years. You've lived here 6 years. We've never met. I guess I don't get out enough, but I'm asking this question as both a candidate and a voter. To my knowledge, and correct me, I'm sure you will. To my knowledge, you've only attended one mosquito control meeting. You haven't really, as far as I can understand or see, been involved in any civic organizations or sat on any boards or committees here in the community. Your education and work experience seems to have been focused on other areas than budget and policy oversight. You didn't vote in the last election. I guess, can you explain to me as a voter why you're the most qualified candidate. Thank you.
Absolutely. I took a year off. So I voted in the primaries. And in the 2006, so what does that make it? So the 2018 election, I didn't vote. 2016, I did vote here. I took a year off to go and serve as the director of communications at a school in Vermont. And so I left for 1 year to do that, so which kind of chunked up my time in a strange way. In my role as director of communications there and as director of religious education at a church in Boca, I did deal with budgets and oversight and working closely with the board. So I've got that. I'm pretty comfortable there. In terms of serving on civic organizations, I'm glad you asked this, and I figured that this would actually be your question. You have definitely done this. I don't know how old your kids are. Mine are really small. I've got a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and that's why I haven't served. This is the place where I saw starting to serve in this community. I'm at the parks a lot, and I talk to a lot of people all the time. And so in a sort of strange, not public way, I am active. I am active here. But it's a fair question. And so the reason I didn't vote in the last election is I'd taken a job in a different place. But I have voted in the other elections since I've been here. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Veda. And it's your turn to ask your question.
And mine is about the same sort of civic engagement. So I see that you have been serving on these boards here. So I'd like you to tell me about an unpopular, and I'm so sorry about my phone. I'd like you to tell about an unpopular position that you've taken in a service organization.
Sure, that's a good question. I guess earlier this year, there was a big push to have a children's trust. Currently, Indian River County funds different children's programs through their general fund. And there was a group that was looking to set up a special taxing district. Similar dollars we're talking here, $6 to $10 million. And I brought the issue to, at that time I was president of Taxpayers Association. I brought the issue to our board. We discussed it and we came out against it. And many of the people who were on the side for it were members of our Taxpayers Association. And so it was not necessarily very popular to a certain segment of our membership and to the public in general. But what we did was we didn't look at it from, we don't like taxes because we're a taxpayer association and that type of thing. We really looked at it as what they were doing and how it fit through the prism of our mission statement. And based on that criteria, that is why we decided to come out against it. And like I said, we did. And yes, it was somewhat unpopular in certain circles. I don't know, does that answer your question? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Janice, you'll be up first on the following question. Containers, tires, clogged gutters, and air plants can be tremendous producers of a few species of mosquitoes, which of course are capable of transmitting diseases such as dengue and Zika. How would you address a situation of a person complaining that they have a lot of mosquitoes around their home, but are unwilling to do anything to solve the problem that they are contributing to themselves?
Container breeding mosquitoes transmit not only dengue fever, but Zika virus and chikungunya. Fortunately, we have not had those diseases in this county. Let me put it this way. When someone calls the Indian River Mosquito Control District about day-biting mosquitoes or domestic mosquitoes, a staff person, usually a biologist, goes to the area to find out where the mosquitoes are being produced and encourages the homeowner or adjacent homeowners to drain or dump or address the address what is I apologize, address where the mosquitoes are being produced. Education materials will be left at the residence. Keys Mosquito Control District, which has had dengue fever reemerge this year, has had a terrific problem. Public education has not worked, and they would go back repeatedly to the homes and redump the same containers. That is a huge and significant problem for every mosquito control district.
Thank you, Janice. And Craig. Response.
Obviously, Commissioner Broda spoke directly to that question. You know, if public education is not working on that, you know, there might be a chance that the mosquito control district might be able to go to the county commission and be able to do some kind of control by an ordinance. But, you know, I think that, you know, in 10 years, we're probably going to be talking about the same thing when it comes to water containers and tires and, you know, and even things that people don't even worry about, like bromeliads after a rainstorm, you know, foliage that contains water. So I think you just continue on the trek of public education. And, you know, unfortunately, if we have to send a biologist out 10 times to the same house, that's just the way it's going to happen to be able to control the mosquitoes. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. And Matt, your response.
I have to agree with the other responses. I think that, you know, a lot of it is education and repeated education and reinforced education and then education again. There's always a new generation of people who really don't understand how mosquitoes breed and spread and how they transmit diseases and those type things. But I just, you know, I think if you, again, you know, doing a law may be problematic legally on that. I'm not an attorney, so I can't really speak to it. But I do think education is the way you have to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And Veda.
Yeah, I mean, I think education is what we've got to work with here. And I didn't know what the day-to-day operations was. And so Ms. Broda spoke to the fact that I guess a biologist will go out and then hopefully that will help educate people and then they'll change what they're doing.
Thank you, Veda. And Jeff, your thoughts.
Sure. The theme is education. I think it can be taken one step further, though. With a small marketing campaign a couple times a year to work with the county for disposal of tires, you know, have like a free thing a couple times a year with some good press behind it, especially with the creation of a Facebook page. If it gets out earlier, that stuff can spread. And that would help people understand a little bit more while they're doing this, but also it could be a good way to clean up stuff like junk tires and things like that. I think it just would take a little more out of the box thinking than, let's say, going on a talk radio show or something like that. There needs to be more of a in tune digital age thing to let people know we're doing this. But again, getting with the county, having some kind of cleanup days, maybe twice a year, put this education stamp behind it, I think it would go far.
Thank you, Jeff. use they have impacts. Explain the philosophy that will guide your decisions in regards to costs and environmental impacts of your ideal integrated pest control program.
Hey, Jordan, we missed some of the first part of that question. Can you give that again, please?
Sure, sorry about that. Yep, having a little bit of, maybe connection issues. But the final question was, would you be in favor of using more expensive pesticides if they have some advantages such as fewer environmental or human safety impacts? And to please
Again, we're having some problem. We heard the first part this time, not the last part. And before we heard the last part, but not the first part.
sorry about that. The last part was to explain your philosophy that will guide your decisions as you're making decisions about costs and environmental impacts of your program.
Just come sit here and ask the question.
Is it, sorry, everybody, little technical difficulties.
Ready?
All right, we'll try it one more time. My apologies. The final question was, would you be in favor of using more expensive pesticides if they have some advantages such as fewer environmental or human safety impacts? Please explain the philosophy that will guide your decisions in regard to costs and environmental impacts of your ideal integrated pest control program. And Jeff, you're up first.
Sure. If there is a better mousetrap, there's a better mousetrap. If it costs a little bit more and it's better for the environment and it's going to have a better impact, absolutely. Though that's a cost that's well spent. That's not a waste on a trip or something like that. Those are costs that are well spent. So yes, absolutely. If there's a better mousetrap or mosquito trap, let's call it, then absolutely, gotta go for it. It's a no-brainer.
Thank you. And Janice, your answer.
It is absolutely critical to use a mix of products. Mosquitoes become resistant to insecticides that are used constantly. So even if a product is more, so if a product's more costly, it needs to be mixed with other products so that the pesticides remain able to be used. There are very few products registered for use on mosquitoes. So the toolbox of pesticides is fairly limited.
Okay.
And it needs to be very specific to the mosquito. So recent research conducted in mosquito control districts and at the Florida Medical Entomology Laboratory has shown that certain populations of certain species will not respond to particular insecticides. That's resistance, and it varies from population to population and from time to time. So constant vigilance is necessary in an integrated pest management program to use all the tools that are available for effective mosquito control. nothing should be used that is deleterious to the environment, because environmental harm, those costs are incalculable. The district does focus on water control for the largest part of its mosquito control program. And on a given day, there are 9 people out in the marshes along the Indian River Lagoon, looking for mosquitoes, hand treating if possible.
Thank you, Janet. Sorry, we got.
Oh no, I can go on and on.
Yeah, I was timing got a little mixed up as we run around. Craig, you're up next.
Thank you. So first and foremost, going back to the mission statement of mosquito control, the board, or the job of a commissioner, is to set policy and to administrate and take care of the budget. So first and foremost, in my philosophy would be to, since we're paying the salaries of our experts, is I would defer to Sherry Burrows and Doug Carlson to use their degrees to research any new chemical or way of treating for mosquitoes, and to give us the pros and cons so that we could make an educated decision based on their research on how to control them. And then the other part of my philosophy would be that, you know, the health of our residents and the health of our environment would also be something that I would be looking at. And then the repercussions of whether we didn't use a chemical that, you know, like Janice was saying, you know, these mosquitoes, they can build up an immunity, so that we have to constantly be changing how we you know, treat for these mosquitoes so that they don't build up an immunity. But I would definitely, the foremost philosophy would be to defer to the pros and cons brought to us by the entomologist. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. And Matt, your response. Oh, you're on mute, Matt. Still on mute, I believe.
All right, sorry about that. Janice actually used a term that I was going to use, toolbox. First of all, to the first part of the question, yes, if there is a less environmentally impactful, negative impact way, whether it's an insecticide or what have you, that costs a little bit more, that should be something that should be pursued. But as Janice said, you know, mosquitoes are good at developing resistance, and there's not a big market for new chemicals being developed. It's very expensive to register these new type of applications. And so there does need to be more tools in the toolbox. And if you have been following down in Monroe County, the Keys Mosquito Control District just signed off on a, I guess it'd be an experiment at this point. And Janice, I'm sure you can tell us, you know all the details, but basically they're looking at ways to use a genetically modified mosquito. While I'm very skeptical of GMO, I have been following it very closely because there are limited tools in the toolbox. And if you look at what they're spending now and the effectiveness, and it's really not a good, they're not getting not getting a lot of bang for their buck. So I'm definitely in favor of integrated pest management, looking at different ways to apply, whether it be drones or even through some other means than pesticide application. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Is it me?
Yeah, you're responsible.
The philosophy that would guide my decision making is balance. There are a lot of things that need to be balanced here. It's the financial cost, it is the environmental cost, and it's the effectiveness. And clearly the effectiveness and the the health and safety of our residents, these are the most important things. And if it means that we do have to pay a little bit more to preserve our natural resources, the health of our citizens and the environment, then that would be a place where we should pay a little bit more. We don't have that many ways to combat mosquitoes, and some of the new ways that they're talking about, I agree with you, Matt. I think that they're a little concerning. It's some interesting things. They're also doing some things overseas, which are fascinating, which I don't know if they'll end up doing here. So it's a balancing act, and I think that balance would be what would guide my philosophy in making those decisions.
Thank you, Veda. I appreciate everyone's participation. I know I've certainly learned a thing or two about mosquitoes and the mosquito control district through this forum. At this time, I'd like all of you to make your closing statements. I'll apologize. I may have been a little overzealous in the amount of questions I tried to pack in. So if we could try to keep the closing statements brief, that would be appreciated. We'll start off with Jeffrey.
Sure. I appreciate you holding this forum. So, like I said, I'm not a politician. I'm not running for a pension. I'm not running for health insurance. I'm not running for those things. I'm running to give back to the community in a little different way than I normally have. I'm running to stop rubber stamping of budgets and pay raises and wasteful spending and petty cash that nobody knows where it goes and things of that nature. I'm running to change things for the better for the county and the taxpayer. I hope especially members of the Taxpayers Association and fellow taxpayers listen to this debate, and especially when the question was asked, what are your ideas about changing things for the better as far as the budget goes and saving, those questions weren't really answered. But I appreciate you guys having this, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
Thank you, Jeff. And Janice, your closing statements.
Knowledge is critical to oversight and setting policy. I'd like to thank the Taxpayers Association for hosting this forum to shed some light on mosquito control. I'm also grateful to the taxpayers for investing in my mosquito control education and wish to pay them back with 4 more years of service. Despite every election year, someone comes out and talks about how much money is wasted at mosquito control. The 2021 operating budget approved in July, in accordance with the deadline set by the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, the agency which governs mosquito control at the state level, is 12.2% lower than last year's budget. Hopefully, this budget can be reduced further at budget hearings later this month if a lack of mosquito-borne disease transmission, hurricanes, and legal challenges allow. Under the current proposed budget for the next year, a homeowner with a $200,000 home and a homestead exemption will pay $37.73 for mosquito control. My interest in mosquito control is real and sustained. It is not a stepping stone to higher office. It is a personal passion and part of my ongoing service to the community.
Thank you, Janice. And Craig, your closing statements.
Thank you to the Taxpayers Association for having this forum. I really appreciate it. Helps all of us as candidates get our name out to people that we might not reach with signs or personal experience. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Jordan, for putting this together. I just think that, mosquito control, I feel has run very well. But everything in life can use a different perspective. And pun intended, new blood. So I think that, there could be some changes at mosquito control that a person like me with real world business experience, running a business, construction experience, that brings a lot of the table to some of the deficiencies that mosquito control has. And I think I can fit that bill. I don't need health insurance, I already have it. Don't need a pension, I already have it. So I would just like to give back my ideas and my time to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. And Matt, your closing statements.
Thank you, Jordan. Mosquito control's budget is $6 to $7 million per year. It's mainly funded through property taxes. It plays a critical role in public health and controlling mosquito-borne viruses. In other words, it matters. The voters deserve a board made up of individuals that have the skill set, the desire, and knowledge to balance the needs of its residents and the cost the residents must pay to meet those needs. I feel I'm the best candidate to address those needs, and I ask for your support on November 3rd. And remember, what the heck, voter Erpenbeck. Is that short enough?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Veda, we'll wrap up with your statements.
I am so glad that we all had this opportunity to have a conversation about mosquito control. This race is low on the ballot, but we all know it's an important position. People work hard for their money, and they deserve a board that will keep a close eye on expenditures and make sure that the tax dollars are spent in a responsible fashion. Indian River County is a great place to live, and mosquito control is one of the big things that makes it livable, just from an enjoyment and a public health perspective. It's a shame that so few people know about the district's good work. The city of Sebastian posts on Facebook to let people know when spraying will happen. Why can't the mosquito board get a Facebook page and do this? The school board's been relying on Facebook to connect with the community, so we know that this is a valid way of connecting with the community in this county. Expecting visitors and tourists to go and find out where spraying is going to be done on this antiquated website is a little embarrassing. We need fresh voices on the board. Bringing experience is important. Fresh eyes and ideas are important too. These meetings should be open, and we should encourage attendance and public comments at these meetings. It's time for new leadership, for new ideas. It's time for questions. And as a journalist, I'm used to figuring out the right questions to ask. I encourage the citizens of Indian River County to vote Veda for seat 3.
Thank you, Veda. And thank all of you. It takes a lot of bravery to run for public office. So I appreciate all of your efforts, and everyone watching live on our YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this evening's forum. If you liked what you saw, please visit our website, www.tpairc.org, where you can access our video library for additional forums and support our association by becoming a member. Thank you all, and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Good luck to everybody out there.